You know, the world you're experiencing right now, it isn't what's actually out there. It's more like a carefully constructed story, an illusion, and your brain is the masterful storyteller. So how does it do it? How does it take all the chaos of light and sound and turn it into the coherent reality you live in every day? Well, that's the mystery we're going to unravel today.
Okay, let's just jump right in with a big question. That screen you're looking at right now, the chair you might be sitting on, how sure are you that what you're experiencing is, well, objective reality? Because we're about to find out that your reality is a lot more like an educated guess than it is a guarantee.
To really understand how your brain pulls this off, we need to meet our two main characters, sensation and perception. Now, think of sensation as the raw data, okay? It's like the ones and zeros that your senses are constantly gathering from the world around you. But you know, raw data on its own, it's pretty meaningless, and that's where perception comes in. Perception is like the beautiful, user-friendly interface your brain builds from all that code, turning a flood of data into a world you can actually navigate.
So first up, let's talk about the front line of this whole operation, sensation. Our bodies are equipped with these incredible biological sensors to gather all this information, but as we're about to see, they have some very specific, and sometimes pretty surprising, limits and abilities.
All right, so we've all learned about the big five, right? Vision, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. These are the main channels our brain uses to get information. But the really interesting question here isn't what they are, it's just how powerful are they? What's the quietest sound we can possibly hear, or the faintest light we can actually see?
So there's a term for this in psychology. It's called the absolute threshold. And it's not like a hard line, not like a switch that's on or off. Think of it more like a tipping point. It's the faintest possible stimulus our senses can catch, but only about half the time. It's the very, very edge of our awareness.
Okay, so that brings me to this number, 30 miles. What do you think? Take a quick guess. What could 30 miles possibly have to do with the absolute threshold of your own vision? All right, let's frame it. Picture this. You're out on a hill. It's a perfectly clear, pitch-black night. No moon. What is the absolute faintest light that the average human eye could possibly detect from 30 miles away?
The flame of a single candle. Isn't that just incredible? But what's really amazing is when you look at all of these together. We can hear a watch ticking from 20 feet away in a totally quiet room. We can smell one drop of perfume spread out through a 3-room apartment. We can even feel a bee's wing landing on our cheek from a centimeter away. Our senses are just way more powerful than we usually give them credit for.
But as impressive as all that is, all this raw data is just static. It's a jumble of signals without an interpreter, and that is where the real star of the show comes in. This is where perception steps onto the stage and starts making sense of it all.
So what is perception? Well, it's the active mental process of organizing all those sensory signals, and this is the key part, assigning meaning to them. Your brain isn't just passively receiving information, it's actively creating an interpretation. This is the exact moment that raw data becomes a recognizable face, a piece of music, or the smell of your morning coffee.
Okay, so here's the million-dollar question, right? If our brain is the one in charge of interpreting everything, is that interpretation always a perfect one-to-one mirror of the outside world? Or can our brains be fooled?
All right, let's try a little experiment right now. Let's put your perception to the test. Just look at these two lines. Don't overthink it, don't measure them, just go with your gut. Which horizontal line looks longer to you, the top one or the bottom one?
I'm willing to bet almost everyone says the bottom one, but they are, in fact, the exact same length. And this is such a perfect example of what we're talking about. Your perception isn't just showing you what's there, it's making a prediction. See, you spent your entire life looking at the corners of rooms, so your brain just assumes the outward-facing arrows mean further away, and it automatically makes that line look longer to compensate. What you're seeing is a constructed guess, not objective reality.
Okay, to really get a handle on how this whole thing works from start to finish, let's follow the entire journey for our most dominant sense, our vision. We're going to trace the path from a single particle of light all the way to a complete image inside your mind.
So, where does it all begin? With light, of course. But as you can see here, the colors we see, the whole rainbow, are just this tiny, little sliver of the full electromagnetic spectrum. We are completely blind to radio waves, microwaves, X-rays, all of it. So think about that. Right from the get-go, our reality is being filtered. We're only sensing a tiny fraction of what's actually out there.
All right, so that little sliver of visible light enters your eye, it passes through the cornea and then the lens, and they work together, kind of like a super advanced camera, to project a tiny, upside-down image onto the retina at the very back of your eyeball. Now the retina, this is where the real magic happens. This isn't just a screen. It's literally a piece of your brain that has pushed its way forward to the front, and it's packed with millions of photoreceptor cells that do one absolutely crucial job. They convert light energy into electrical signals. This whole process is called transduction, and it's the only language the brain speaks.
Now these little light-catching cells, they come in two main flavors. You've got your rods, which are the superstars of night vision. They're super sensitive and pick up faint light in the dark. And then you've got your cones, which are clustered right in the center of your vision. They're the ones that give you all that sharp detail and brilliant color when the lights are on.
Okay, from the retina, those electrical signals shoot down the optic nerve. They do this cool crisscross thing deep inside the brain, and then they arrive at their final stop, the visual cortex, right at the very back of your head. This is command central. This is where millions of scattered signals are finally pieced together into the seamless, moving picture that you call sight.
Wow. So we've just traveled from a single candle flame 30 miles away, all the way through the eyeball and into the deepest parts of the brain. So what's the big takeaway here? What does this incredible journey really tell us?
It all boils down to this. The rich, detailed world that you experience isn't just a passive recording of what's out there. It is an active co-creation. It's a partnership between the raw data streaming in from the world and the powerful, predictive, interpreting machine that is your brain. Think of it this way. Sensation delivers the raw ingredients. Your perception is the architect that builds your reality.
And that leaves us with one last, kind of mind-bending thought. Because if our perception isn't just based on raw data, but also on our unique memories, our expectations, our beliefs, well, that means we're all walking around as the architects of a slightly different reality. So if your brain's interpretation is different from mine, whose reality is the right one?